I discovered the world of Artivism, which is that incredible connection between that sort of emotional response that we have with art, that cognitive awareness of something and an emotional response, tied together with that more strategic impact or effect from activism. And this, for me, was amazing, because then all of a sudden I realized that, that I could have a voice and I could address all these emotions that I had about the climate crisis, where also I could use this kind of corporate background of strategic planning that I had spent much of my career to actually not only engage an audience, but to evoke action. The great thing about Artivism is the fact that it's generally in public spaces, and so it's not hidden behind those barriers of a gallery, so it's more open and more exposed to everyone. It's this really unique combination of the affect and the effect combined together, and that creates a new level of curiosity where people want to understand it better, and through that understanding we have a much more powerful way of communicating. The community is there and the community are engaged, but their response is very much from a place of despair with a very dystopian outlook. And at first this really concerned me, because I wasn't really sure why I was getting so much response of people with so much feelings of shame and blame and guilt. And as I researched into this much more and started to speak to professionals about this, I realized that all of these emotions are very much tied up into the human psychology of, or the condition of climate anxiety. So that's really led me down a very different path of understanding the audience and trying to, through my art and the content that I make related to my art, to be able to sort of reach those people who are suffering from this climate anxiety. Climate denial is a really interesting thing, which I've been looking at a lot. And for the most sakes, I think that there's a lot of misinformation out there. And of course, information nowadays is incredibly easy to access. And so I'm not surprised that a lot of people are getting confused and they're hearing, different stories. But again, a lot of this is coming from a place of anger and frustration. And I feel that's because a lot of people are feeling all this guilt and shame, but they're not truly understanding why they're feeling that. And I think that by actually listening to them, to actually try and let them have their voice, it can actually really take away a lot of their anger and frustration, because they feel like they are fighting against the world. It's them isolated fighting against the world, which realistically is the whole thing about climate change anyway. A lot of us feel that we're powerless to really act. It's just one of us. How can we make a difference? But given the time and the energy, I think that eventually people will come around and see things slightly differently. And of course, not everyone's always going to agree. And that's just, a simple fact. We're talking about world leaders, and, just as a personal response to that, I honestly feel that, over the years, we have empowered our leaders to the point of believing that they're leaders. And I think that there needs to be a reminder to everyone that actually they're followers. They're here to do the will of the people. And actually, we are empowered to change their actions. And I think it would be quite nice for world leaders to reconnect to the people as being followers. The general call to action to everyone is that if you are feeling conflicted about the climate crisis, if you do feel powerless, the best way to empower yourself is to make a small action, and every small action helps. And it's amazing how once you start on that chain of making small actions, you take another one and you take another one. And just by, acknowledging and being kind to yourself and recognizing that you are doing whatever it is that you can do, it's not just you, it's the whole world, and if we all do our bit, it can all make change.